So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series where we have the privilege of being joined by Mr. Navaneeth Krishnan for today. I am Ravinder Kandari, your host for today's session. The topic of today's session is how to set up a business and register your startup. So, Mr. Navaneeth, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Okay. I am doing well. Thanks for asking. So let's do deep dive into session and we can start with the basic introductions of us. Then we can take the session forward. So it's over to you.
All right.
Yeah.
So my name is Navaneeth Krishnan. I'm a practicing chartered accountant. And what I basically do is I help startups with their compliance and financial requirements and all. Because every startup, when they start, every startup needs a finance guy. And usually everyone says that a finance guy should be one of their first 3 hires. But most startups don't do this. And a lot of startups, they keep it for later. So what I do is I advise startups on their financial and compliance requirements and all that, and I help them take care of that part.
That's good. That's good. So I will start with my quick brief of this, right? My name is Ravinder Kandari and my company name is RaiseMoney. So we are the India's finest startup platform where we are working to create a global communities of founder and investors simultaneously. How we are doing that? For the founders, we are helping them to raise funds, mentoring, and the other basic things that is required to sustain a startup ecosystem. On the other side, when we talk about the investors, we are helping them to find out the right startup so that they can invest their hard-earned money and giving them a platform and an opportunity where they can reach out to the more startup for the mentoring itself. Right. So as I already said that we have the privilege to have Hugh sir here. And we can start we can start with the questions one by one. The very first question which comes in my mind when we talk about the startup ecosystem. So the first question is that what are the essential steps to consider when setting up a business and registering a startup? Over to you.
When we talk about startups, there are 4 questions that come to our mind, which every startup should answer. And these 4 questions are also asked when you're going for that startup in their registration and all. These 4 questions are asked. First question, what is the problem in the market that you're going to address? That is the very first question. Second question is, what is the solution or the product that you're bringing into the market? Second question. Third question is, how is your product going to address the problem? That is the third question. Now, the fourth question and the most important question is, how are you going to generate revenue from this process? Now, every startup, every person who's going to establish a startup needs to answer all these 4 questions. So basically, that's it. When setting up a startup or any business, these 4 questions, you need an answer, a clear-cut answer to these 4 questions.
That's great. That's great. That's a really great explanation. So my second question is that what legal structure options are available for the startups and how they differ from the another one?
Okay. When you talk about legal setup, technically a startup can start in any legal setup, like it can be a proprietorship, partnership, anything. But if you want recognition from the government, like the startup in their recognition mark, you have only 3 options. One is you have to start as a partnership firm. Second, you have to start as a limited liability partnership. Third, you can start as a private limited company. These are the 3 options available if you want startup in their recognition mark. Now, how they differ from each other? Well, a partnership firm, well, you just have to draft a deed, a partnership deed in a stamp paper, and there you have it. You have a partnership deed. Then limited liability partnership, you have to register with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Okay.
It's basically the difference between a partnership and a limited liability partnership is that first of all, limited liability partnership is recognized by law. Both are recognized by law, but this one has a better legal standing, and it also offers limited liability for the partners. Like the contribution of each partner is recorded, and it's recorded in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, and that is the limited liability of these partners. So that is how limited liability partnerships work. And the good thing about limited liability partnerships is that each partner is an agent of the partnership, but he does not have to act as an agent of the other partners. That's not the case in the other partnerships, because in other partnerships, they have unlimited liability. Any one partner doing something can affect the other partners. But in this case, it's not like that.
Cool.
Then the third one is,
Sorry. Please continue.
Just one more thing. The third one is the private limited company, which is basically, registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs as a company with shares, limited liability, separate legal entity, all that.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a great explanation. So my third question is that what are the key considerations when choosing a business name and ensuring its ability for the registrations?
Well, if you're going to register a limited liability partnership for a company, you have to, the first step is reserving your unique name. That's the
Okay.
first form that you have to fill. So when you're going for it, you have to give two names. You have to select two names, and in the order of your preference, you have to give it. And when you submit that form, after 2 or 3 days, they'll get back to you. Either they'll accept the name or they'll reject it, citing the reasons. Now, when you give this name in the form, you can auto check whether this name has similarity to any other existing company, an existing LLP, or any trademarks that have been filed till now. So all that you can check before selecting this name. You
Okay.
cannot select a name which is similar to the name of an existing company, an existing LLP, or a trademark that has already been registered. That you have to be careful about when selecting a name for the company.
Okay, perfect. And my fourth question is that are there any specific intellectual property considers such as trademark or a patent, or we can say that a startup should be aware of during the registration process?
Well, actually, if you're registered as a startup in India, your trademark registration process becomes easier and the fee also reduces greatly. For example, a non-registered LLP, an ordinary LLP will have to pay 9,000 per trademark. Per trademark, when I say is for the name, you have to take a separate trademark. For the logo design, also you'll have to take a separate trademark. That's 18,000 if you have to register it under one single, service type or product type.
Okay.
So for startups, it goes down to 4,500 per trademark, and which means it becomes basically half.
Okay.
So in case of trademarks, that's a really good benefit. But then on the other side, as I told you, when you go for the name registration and all, if there are existing trademarks, if there are existing companies with such names and all, you cannot use those names unless you have permission from the other company.
Cool. Okay. So perfect answer. So my last question for the today's session is that what are the necessary permits, license, or a certification required to operate a startup in a specific industries or a location?
Okay, so in that regard, well, it's actually a very specific question. Like it differs from company to company. I'll give you a few examples.
Okay.
Like one major thing that everyone comes to everyone's mind is the GST registration. Now GST, one thing is that even though the limit is 20 lakhs in most states, till you get to a turnover of 20 lakhs, you don't have to take GST. But the thing is that in case of startups, many of our startups are online startups. Like they provide services online. So when you do that online, you actually provide services to people from many different states. Right. So in such cases, GST registration is important. It's compulsory registration because we are providing interstate services and all that. That's one thing. Now, if you are a startup in the food industry, you need FSSAI license, definitely, and like that. So depending on the industry that you are in, there will be specific licensing, which is independent of the startup registration. Startup registration, if you have, you basically have some benefits in the income tax. You have benefits in while you're selling shares and all that.
Okay.
And the other benefits are that you have self-certification in many laws, labor laws and all that. You get self-certification. Other than that, there are many other laws, regulations, etc. in place. For example, GST, which are independent of all this.
Okay.
Which, if it applies to you, you'll have to take the registration. That's different.
Okay, perfect explanation, man. So yeah, that's it. I have no more question right now. So we just want to make this webinar short and crisp. So that's it for the day. Thank you for your time. It's been an honor to have you over here. And we are looking forward to organize more webinar or a session with you as well. Yeah, that's it for the day, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, man. Have a nice day.
Same to you.